Maido! Hi there, Japan fan. Today's show, we're going to talk about engaging audiences. Present Master Shimashou. This is the 7th year of the Presentation Japan Series podcast. We are beaming around the world to you from sunny Minato-ku in Tokyo. And I'm your host, Dr. Greg Story, Dale Carnegie Tokyo franchise owner, the president of Dale Carnegie Tokyo Training, and the 3-time best-selling author of Japan Sales Mastery, which is Zaegyo in Japanese, Japan Business Mastery, and Japan Presentations Mastery, plus Stop Wasting Money on Training, which in Japanese is Training de okane o muda ni suru wa yamimashou, and all are available on Amazon. Through this podcast, I want to help you to become a better speaker, to be 1, clear, 2, confident, 3, persuasive, and 4, highly influential with those around you. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with your family, friends, and colleagues. We are not being sponsored by Libsyn, but we value your privacy, which is why we have our podcast hosted by Libsyn. Unlike many other hosting organizations, Libsyn have a strict policy that does not allow access to your private information by anyone. Here is our daily podcast lineup on Apple Podcasts. Mondays, the Cutting Edge Japan Business Show podcast. Tuesday, the Presentations Japan series, and every second Tuesday, the Business Tatsujin no Oshie show. Wednesdays, the Sales Japan series. Thursdays, the Leadership Japan series, and every second Thursday, the Business Pro Podcasto show. Fridays, the Japan Business Mastery Show podcast, and Saturdays, Japan's top business interviews. Now, this is episode number 343. Today, we are talking about how to engage Japanese audience members when presenting. Most foreigner-delivered presentations in Japan will be delivered in English and have a mixed audience of both Japanese and non-Japanese. There is a tendency to imagine, because it is in English, that any necessary Japanese cultural components can be overlooked. The presumption is the presentation can be delivered just as it would be for a foreigner-only audience. Why would we imagine that? The Japanese audience members may speak English in their firms, but often the language capability will vary, and very, very few will be operating at native speaker levels. If we're not clued in, we could lose a sizable chunk of our audience. The speed of delivery is usually the first barrier we erect to keep our Japanese-speaking audience from getting our message. We are speaking in English, so we assume we can speak as we normally would, without ever considering the needs of our audience. It is extremely rare, in my experience, to listen to a presenter who is speaking too slowly. In fact, I can't recall anyone having that issue. The opposite, though, is the norm. And, unfortunately, I am guilty of this too. I get passionate about my subject. I start really leaning into it. Invariably, I speed up. The cure for this is to keep in mind that too fast a speed will lose a lot of the audience, and that I need to keep a slower pace than normal. Also, by using pauses, I can regulate the delivery in a way which will stop the speed from revving up. Idioms are the nemesis of international understanding. I grew up in Australia, so we were bombarded with English and American television programming. In this way, we learned the dual languages and the idioms associated with them. One of the tricky problems I have is to deduce which idioms are international and which are purely of Australian invention. There's a surprising amount I found. I know this because the non-Australians I'm speaking to go blank when I let loose one of these little Aussie specials, and I realise my message is not getting through. As a presenter in Japan, it is better to delete idioms entirely and find alternative methods of expressing the same idea. Sporting references are the other barrier to communication. Australia is a very sporty nation, So we have tons of these too. Americans have their own favourites, and many times I have to ask what they mean, and I'm a native speaker, so imagine how quickly you'll lose your audience of Japanese guests. It is better to just cut these out of the presentation delivery entirely and look for more easily accessible expressions to convey the point we want to make. In Japan, in normal, polite society, we know that looking someone straight in the eye isn't done, and we have to look at their forehead or throat or chin instead. What about eye contact with our Japanese members in the audience? Should we just ignore them to make certain they don't feel too uncomfortable? There is eye contact, and there is eye contact. Anything under 5 seconds is too short to make a connection. Anything over 6 seconds is too intrusive. We can still engage our Japanese members in the audience with eye contact if we keep it within these bounds. We look at audience members, we are creating a one-on-one personal connection, which is very strong. We are saying, you are the only person in this room, and I am talking directly to you. Japanese guests are not used to this, so when it happens, the impact is enormous, and they gravitate to us. Find out more. We come back from the break. Today's show is brought to you by our public courses, but we also are doing custom in-house programs. We do them in both Japanese and English. We do them in our super safe classroom and live online. Today's show is being brought to you by, on the 9th of June, our Winning with Relationship Selling program. That's our flagship sales course, covers the entire sales cycle. Everything you need to know about selling is in that program. Also on the 9th of June, and then later on the 11th of June, we'll have our Dale Carnegie course. This is the course that's most famous because of the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. The course was developed before the book, and the book made Dale Carnegie globally famous. But the course itself has got real legs. It is just a phenomenal program, decade after decade after decade. It keeps going. Of course, the course changes over time, but the fundamentals are still there. People skills, communication skills, leadership skills, stress management skills, really expanding your comfort zone skills, all in that program. Excellent course. On the 15th of June, we're doing our High Impact Presentations program. 2 days, 2 instructors, everything videoed, massive wall-to-wall coaching, one-on-one coaching for 2 days. Solid, incredible program. If you need to be more persuasive, this is the course for you. Go to our website at www.dale-carnegie.co.jp. Lots and lots of value there for you. To do better in Japan, email me at greg.story@dalecarnegie.com. If you like learning by watching videos, then we have nearly 2,000 there for you on Tokyo, Japan, Dale Carnegie TV on YouTube. We release 3 TV shows every week on YouTube. The Cutting Edge Japan Business Show, that's the premier business show on Japan, every Monday, Tokyo time. Fridays, we have the Japan Business Mastery Show, and on Saturdays, we release Japan's top business interviews, where I interview leaders from small, medium enterprises all the way up to the corporate captains of industry on one topic, leading in Japan. Every second Thursday, we release the Business Pro TV Show. Get my best-selling books on business in Japan, the Bible on selling, Japan Sales Mastery, Zaegyo in Japanese, Japan Business Mastery, Japan Presentations Mastery, plus Stop Wasting Money on Training, which in Japanese is Torein de okane wo muru ni suru wa yamemashou, and all are available on Amazon. Welcome back. Here is a hint. Don't worry about the expression on their faces. Sometimes it can look like they are rejecting what we are saying, but in fact, they are just concentrating hard on the content to catch it. What we see is their serious face, not their angry face, but it's hard to divine which is which for foreigners. I had my breakthrough moment on Japanese physiognomy in Kobe when I was speaking in Japanese to 100 salespeople about Australian education. Midway down on the left, he was sitting there throughout my hour-long presentation with the angriest look on his face, as if he was not buying one thing I said. When I finished, he leapt out of his chair, hurried down the centre aisle to where I was standing. I honestly thought he was going to punch me in the face. I was getting ready to defend myself. To my astonishment, he started double pumping my hand and telling me in Japanese what a terrific talk that was and how much he learned about Australia. Assume the Japanese guest is concentrating on what you're saying and don't be put off by what may appear to be a hostile reception to your message. Don't worry if Japanese don't ask questions at the end. Often, nobody wants to be the first in anything, so they are waiting for someone else to go first. Also, there's a complex calculation going on in their minds about how they will be perceived by this question. Is it a veiled insult to the speaker, implying that they were not clear enough in their talk? Will others think they are stupid for asking this basic question? Shouldn't they defer to others who are maybe older or more senior, or with women, defer to the men to ask the questions? If there are foreigners in the room, there is usually no shortage of people wanting to ask questions, but we should specifically encourage the Japanese to speak up. We can say, in my culture, asking questions is never seen negatively. It just shows an interest in the topic. I know Japan is different, but let me encourage our Japanese guests to ask questions they may have. If you'd like to ask me some questions after the talk, I'll be here for about 15 minutes and will welcome questions you may have. This shows a great deal of sensitivity to those Japanese in the audience, and they will feel much closer to you as the speaker. Did you get value from today's show? If you did, then share the love around with your family, friends, and colleagues. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast. Until the next episode, go out there and apply the learnings from today and become a presentations legend amongst your circle. Thank you for joining me, and please tune in next week. Remember, I'm in your corner, committed to your success here in Nippon.